So what I'm going to be looking at today is how I became interested enough to investigate um, cinema that led to the discovery of Bly Cenders among the Cubists. And this was before um, Beleva fell for fourth in the Beijing Olympics, which was very helpful. And if you've read the letters in the Texas School Book, if you haven't, they're in texasschoolbook.weebly.com. You know that Gail Carolyn Burston, the Zionist who scripted the plan with the help of Yoko Ono and John Lennon in the AIDS attack, was mentioning the film The Passenger, which she said she would explain. I haven't seen it yet, but I did notice that it was about a man who takes a dead man's identity and was apparently a Holocaust survivor, which has the overtones of one of the titles in the script, I Am the Walrus. I am he as you are he, the switching of identity. What also links up is that they used the symbol Casper for the enemy within. Burston comes from The Exorcist. Bly Cenders, when you get to him, is the name that means the phoenix, the blaze from the cinders. They had a James K who tortured me and implanted a personality change chemical. And I was supposedly James C, which was a KC unification symbol. And the James Bond comes from Ian Wattenmaker and Ian Fleming, who worked with Alan Dulles and, in fact, got into it a couple of times with J. Edgar Hoover. Ian Fleming came up with the idea of You Only Live Twice, faking a death, the way they did John Lennon's Houdini with Double Fantasy. So it's all interplayed into the storyline of the super story that Toon has made me a star of, to put me on trial for my soul over the case of Hiroshima. Another thing that came to my attention at the Seattle Public Library was the Wolfgang Stout film, The Murderers Are Among Us. When I watched the film, a couple of things struck me. One was the tone of everlasting dismay from walking the ruins of destroyed Germany. Another was something he says to her. He says, if I were to recover, it would be you who I would love. And it triggered me because I remember that Hitler said that if he was going to lose the war, it would be to the United States that he would prefer to lose, which no doubt was quite a fanny shine to Wild Bill Donovan. Eventually, my concern consolidated. Ayn Rand had a book called Atlas Shrugged, which was about the disappearance of important people to manipulate from behind the scenes. This is an image from her film, We the Living, which has the caption, It would be like starting over, which was in a look-alike of Gail Burston, who wrote the script, what's known as a Temujin de Jong continuer or archetype of a look-alike, symbolizing her, giving herself Asiatic eyes and clapping her hands over her ears is symbolic of Hiroshima. And if you doubt that, and of course, It Will Be Like Starting Over was Lennon's last hit single. If you doubt that she's clapping her hands over her ears as a symbol of Hiroshima. Look at how it was used by the Neva Corporation. With the symbol of the rerouted motorcade there under the one in the middle. They're using recurrent images as a symbolic text known as semiotics. And Toon pretended to find it and put on quite a heist operation with the help of Schulman, who was arrested for a museum heist at a place called Carnegie Mellon. Notice the man Sherilla Mackenzie here, popping out of his skull. They knew that they had implanted a personality change chemical. From the script, it says purple disc thingo. Can you make that out? And you can hear there's a piece of writing from what I went through. My soul was retching out from inside of my body, took hold of me. I had no control. But my body and soul were screaming out from inside of me, why have you done this to me? You must stop. They used a neurohypnotic chemical, a bursting Casper enemy from within, that they demonstrated again on poor Mackenzie Sherilla. So I began to realize that the script was interlaced through all of Hitler Reagan's associated cinema. I noticed Rather Us with the U.S. over the swastika in this film. And although I was poo-pooed about that, when I slowed the movie down and looked at it frame by frame, I was in for quite a surprise because there's an image that doesn't appear in the film, but shows up on the reel itself of Reagan sitting next to the swastika under the U.S. and a bust of Hitler with Errol Flynn, who was meeting with Adolf Hitler. And that can be found in my cover of my text describing the theme paper, which was that Casper symbolized, among other things, the escape of Adolf Hitler and Lenin's Houdini. Actually, there's 4 themes that emerge. One is the escape of Hitler. The second is 2 virgins' pussy ball clocked to the AIDS attack. Third is the murder of JFK for revenge about Hiroshima. And the 5th is the escape of John Lennon. One of the things we see in the mind of John Lennon is to convert the albatross of fascism into something new. This image of a black soldier next to the Confederate flag is historically authentic. There were black people who supported the Confederacy. I don't have an explanation for that. I don't want to get into it. But the idea that you could come up with a monstrosity and include blacks as part of the survival group was the essence of the plan in clocking 2 virgins' pussy ball to the rise of Obama in the course of the AIDS attack. And a woman who made Triumph of the Will, Leni Riefenstahl, liked to be photographed with 7-foot-tall Negroes. There you see Leni. There you see Leni in Africa with the big, big man of the future idea of a different Reich. And they use this symbolism in the way they staged the operation through Carnegie Mellon University and the University of Pittsburgh. The designated person of Two Virgins Pussy Ball was Midori Goto, who was coming into her age. There was Leni Riefenstahl with the Fuhrer. So the Beatles clearly had intelligence operatives working behind the scene in the Kennedy assassination too. They were notorious for having used Aleister Crowley, who was inspiration for Oswald Mosley, on the cover of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. And you can see from the revenge system that one of the goals was to put me into lonely-hearted isolation by claiming I was an unfit to be a father or a boyfriend or any of the good things that Mick Jagger likes to enjoy, because I wasn't moral like they were. But one of the things that's also interesting is that they set it up to blame me for the script, which is symbolized by the arrest of Oswald at a theater. As soon as you find out what they're doing, you're the show, as Penis Gabriel likes to crow, or liked to crow when he was younger. Now he's off to bigger and better things. You can trust Peter Gabriel. He has the mind of the Casper deep in his sensory deprivation chamber. You can't go wrong with a foreign English. Look into my eyes. Look deep into my eyes. He Svengali's as he betrays through the ripper back knife of his association with a band called Genesis. Oswald's ID was dated for Pearl Harbor Day. So it's clear that they're overlapping various texts to symbolize what they have in mind. Another thing that we notice from the success of the Beatles in their outrage is that the idea that you could find people to believe that they were fighting the good fight when helping people who committed abomination, the way that blacks were included in the Confederate Army, if they minded their place, you find that they made a big show at Carnegie Mellon of having recruited the sensibilities of the gay militants. Of course, they did that through tune, the money bag, and bribery. Nobody yammered louder for the betrayal of a generation than a Senegalese Muslim named Youssou N'Dour, working with a white Nazi extremist on Mount Desert Island from the German Green Party apparatus, an admirer of Joseph Goebbels. That bears some explanation, doesn't it? The explanation is that Roger Waters was a protege of King Edward, a friend of Adolf Hitler, and that they planned this for a long time with a man they called Rodney Toady, and a gang in Pittsburgh known as the Wattenmakers, who were Attica State Prison psychiatrists, brain surgeons, and neurobehavioral researchers, working with Dr. Mackenzie on illegal LSD experiments on minors. Ian Fleming and King Edward came to Pittsburgh and worked the study because my father was there. He was from Bush's ship in the Navy. Yoko Ono wanted revenge on him. And boy, did they get it with the help of John Lennon. I've had to make my own printing press just to defend myself from this illegal garbage. But they know in administration in Seattle how to play the field of the images too. They hired a caseworker to stalk me over here, while this here fellow, Ripper, murdered Shannon Harps over what they claimed was a sacred Yoko Ono and McCartney penny in the matter of the script, in which they claim they were the victims. But Ronald Reagan's attorney for the Federal Emergency Management Agency, a patron of Netanyahu, had me in D.C. the day that Reagan claims he was shot. He waved to me the night before, and it says they gave me a brochure that said there's no such thing as objective reality, only what the jury believes. Here's a picture of John Lennon in a film in which he pairs up with a Japanese gorilla girl. And this is from 1967. They put out the White Album on November 22nd, 1968, the anniversary of JFK's murder. When this image came out, Bobby Kennedy and Martin Luther King had not yet fallen to Revolution number 9. But they released the White Album on the anniversary of when they blew Kennedy's mind out in a car. And this is the totem of the entire episode. Two Virgins, it's called. Two Virgins was what the ISIS warrior who said that whose gang in Pittsburgh African Studies claimed that ugly German swastikas were sacred ancestor symbols of Africa, while stamping German Green Party on my father's obituary and auguring Mount Desert Island by misspelling Mr. Beatty, Mount Beatty, in my article calling for divestment from South Africa by the University of Pittsburgh. Maybe you can see from some of this why I distrust Brian Eno and Elon Musk. There's a synthesis of walrus, of Edie Mean and Brian Eno. I think that's appropriate because Elon Musk, as recently as today, went in TikTok saying the very disturbing idea that there will always be war, which was a belief of Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler promoted that there would be eternal war on Earth. And that's clearly what Elon Musk feels too. And perhaps for the very same reason, because he's a perpetrator and a predator who wants it to be that way. So when we look in through the various images that I have collected, because they seem to be part of the operation, it's good to bear in mind that many of the images I collected predated beloved Camila's fall at the Beijing Olympics for 4th place that led me in the direction of Ouspensky, Houdini, the Cubists, Fayum, Mussolini, D.W. Griffith, Luigi Freddi, Diaghilev, the creation of Grand Central Station, Vlad Sanders, and Sergei Eisenstein. I'll close with the arrest of Oswald in the theater because it pertains to Eisenstein's book, Immoral Memories. Keep in mind that a lot of know-it-alls do a lot of harm when it comes to the problem of young people being unable to decide how they want their lives to play out while they have boyfriends and girlfriends and are of dating age. You have various approaches to understanding and puritanical civics. Immoral Memories seems to conjure this theater, and it talks interestingly and revealingly on the same page about Sutter's Gold by Bly Sanders and Plague. And keep in mind, most of this came to light out here in Klondike country of Trumpy-toonism, who went to school with Francis Ford Coppola.